want to thank both of you for being here. I'm now going to move to the distinguished gentleman from Maryland for any closing comments that he'd like to make, and then I will do same. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and my thanks obviously to both our witnesses for being here and for being as forthcoming as you could be. I think one of the things for me at least is common sense, which is not always common, as we know in life. And it just would appear to me that with these ongoing failures to meet an audit, with huge fraud being publicized as it was just recently in the Raytheon case, where they agreed to pay $950 million, not because of an error, but because they got caught. And when you consider also the fact that this conversation predates many of us on this panel, it just goes back years and years and years. And when you consider the fact that all branches of the service, save the Marine Corps, continues to find ways not to be compliant with basic law, and when you hear GAO report as it's done today and it has done previously about all these things that are going on, common sense tells me that it is important for the Secretary of Defense to speak with a clear tongue and a clear idea of what has to be done down the ranks. That's where the order has to come from. We know that with respect to the Marine Corps, it was testified here in previous meetings that the Commandant said, look, we're going to do it this way, it's the right way, and anybody that doesn't do it that way is out of here. I think we need the same kind of determination and the same kind of commitment from, as the chairman said, the top level, which is Secretary Hegseth. And I would hope that he would come before this committee and be prepared to talk about what we've been talking about now for years, that he's inherited this and what he plans to do about it. I'm glad to hear about the Export-Import Bank. I didn't know that they had kind of established a pattern that could, in fact, be something that could be looked at by other parts of DoD and other agencies. But we've got to find a way to ask ourselves, why does the Department of Defense, for years, continue to be on the high-risk list? People come in, they go, secretaries die, they move on, and this is an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment, and it's thumbing the nose of the government right at taxpayers. Our taxpayers really want to expect that if we're going to be, as we say, efficient, that we're doing something in a real way to be efficient. I mean, DOGE, with all due respect, was this committee. This is what we've been dealing with for years and years and years until all of a sudden there was a new entity, DOGE, that claims to be doing exactly that. We've got the playbook, we've got the information, we've got the data, we've got the research, we've got the examples. So this is sort of like reinventing the wheel for no necessary purpose, and at the same time not being able to deal with the real question of, in this current spending resolution before the Congress, we're prepared to be voting on a package that includes $892 billion for the Pentagon, which is why I have opposed that spending package altogether, because you can't do that and at the same time cut money, in my opinion, from Medicare and say you have to cut it when you really don't have to. What you need to do is tighten your belt and find monies elsewhere, like within this budget that we continue to see talked about over and over and over again. As I said before, the budget is so large, just a 1% error is the equivalent of $9 billion. We should not take that lightly. And, you know, I'm going to say it again, Mr. Chairman, I swear I am tired of saying this over and over again, and like you are, and I really appreciate your efforts here. We want to see progress. And if we don't see progress, I think we've got to go before the full Congress and to argue and to forcefully debate and to make the case that no action is not sufficient. So we've heard the stories today, and we know that in many respects people are wondering, how are you going to cut this? You're going to cut SNAP assistance for children and women. You're going to reduce Medicaid, Medicare. You're going to threaten, even though it's not been said yet, to make Social Security unstable. Just the thought of it being unstable causes problems. And then you look at what's happening in the bond markets and what's going on with investors and other countries around the globe as they look at our credit worthiness and whether or not we, in fact, mean what we say. So I'm going to get off of my little soapbox. I just can tell you that this is bad. There's no justification for this whatsoever. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.